Nassau County, the sheriff's office wants to hear from anyone who went to the Tangle Salon in Fernandina Beach last Saturday. They're looking for information into the disappearance of a mother who disappeared last Sunday. Jolene Cummings was supposed to pick up her 3 kids on Mother's Day, but she never arrived. Today, neighbors banded together in Hilliard to search for her.
Just a couple of hours earlier, deputies arrested Cummings' ex-boyfriend, Jason G., who had a warrant out for a probation violation. But deputies say he is not talking.
Tonight marks 411 days since Jolene Cummings was last seen in Nassau County.
At first, no one panicked. They figured she was just running late. Maybe she'd gone to see her kids, or maybe she got caught up with something. But as the hours passed, it became clear this was much more than an ordinary delay. Her phone went silent, there was no activity on her bank accounts, and her vehicle had vanished. Then her SUV was found, abandoned, empty, and parked just a short distance from the salon where she worked. Inside that salon, detectives uncovered something the naked eye couldn't see: blood. A lot of it. It looked like someone had gone to great lengths to clean the scene, but forgot one thing. The truth always leaves a trace. And while investigators struggled to piece together what had happened inside, another woman entered the picture. The last person known to have seen Jolene alive. She seemed calm, almost too calm. She gave explanations, changed her story, disappeared, and resurfaced under different names, as if she had been living several lives at once. But as the truth slowly came to light, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a missing person case. And it wasn't just a murder. It was the story of a woman who had spent decades erasing her own identity, leaving behind a trail of lies, fear, and blood. Who was she, really? How did one woman manage to live dozens of lives under different names? And what exactly happened inside that salon on the night a mother of 3 vanished forever? Nassau County was home to 34-year-old mother of 3, Jolene Jensen Cummings. The people who knew her described her as outgoing, fun-loving, and always up for trying something new. Her friends said she was simply a kind, loyal, and deeply caring person. Being a mom was what she loved most. She often called her children her greatest accomplishment. After the birth of her daughter, one of her relationships came to an end, and she decided it was time for a fresh start. Jolene began working at Tangle's hair salon in Yulee, where she quickly became part of the team. Her regular clients adored her, and her boss, Jim, said she had a natural gift for connecting with people. Basically, she could strike up a conversation with just about anyone. Later, she met her future husband, Jason Cummings, and together they had 2 sons. Suddenly, her life became much busier. But in 2017, Jolene and Jason decided to separate and began working together on a co-parenting arrangement for their children. She also had a brief relationship with another man, coincidentally. His name was Jason too, but that relationship eventually ended after a series of arguments. Her friends said it was unfortunate. Jolene was an amazing person, but her love life just never seemed to work out. Still, she handled it all with grace. At that point, her focus was on her children and her career. She was ready for a new beginning. Before we get back to the story, I want to ask you something real quick. I'm always curious where everyone is watching from, so let me know in the comments what city you're in and what time it is there right now. Thanks for taking a moment to do that. Now, let's get back to the case. For Jolene, it started out like any other workday. She arrived at Tangle's for a fully booked shift. She was already looking forward to finishing work at 5 o'clock and getting ready for the next day. Because this wasn't just any day, it was her birthday. And that year, it also fell on Mother's Day. She was planning to spend the entire day with her children, celebrate with the people she loved, and simply enjoy time with her family. They were going to make a gift for her mother, Anne, and spend the day together as a family. But the following morning, she was supposed to meet her ex-husband to pick up the kids. She never showed up. Saturday was always her busiest day at the salon, and she usually worked straight through without a break. At first, people assumed she had simply overslept. But when another day passed without anyone hearing from Jolene, she was officially reported missing. Her vehicle was gone as well. There was no activity on her bank accounts, and every call to her phone went straight to voicemail. Her boss, Jim, said Jolene loved her children more than anything and would never have disappeared on her own. We're all extremely worried. This is completely out of character for her. Her whole life revolved around her children, and I refuse to believe she would just walk away.
County, the sheriff's office wants to hear from anyone who went to the Tangle Salon in Fernandina Beach last Saturday. They're looking for information into the disappearance of a mother who disappeared last Sunday. Jolene Cummings was supposed to pick up her 3 kids on Mother's Day, but she never arrived. Today, neighbors banded together in Hilliard to search for her.
Yeah, and friends are telling me this just doesn't sound like her to disappear on Mother's Day without her 3 kids. Now, friends say this is where she works, right here, Tangle's Hair Salon. And this is where deputies say she was last seen leaving here on Saturday night around 5. Deputies say she may be driving a 2006 beige Ford Expedition with the Florida license plate number 035KBQ. A client also tells me she got her hair done on Friday by Cummings and she seemed fine. And she even talked about painting and crafting with her kids on Mother's Day. And I just spoke to Cummings' boss here just a couple of minutes ago, and he says they are very worried. Something is just not right.
We know there's somebody out there that knows where she's at, and will do the right thing and give us a call so we can let her come home to her family.
Down the street, neighbors like Lexi are also on the lookout for the young mother.
We're all close-knit, small town, so if something happens, you hear about it as soon as it happens.
The first people investigators wanted to speak with were the 2 men who had played major roles in Jolene's life, her ex-husband Jason C. and her former boyfriend Jason G., whose relationship with her had been anything but stable. They would break up, get back together, and then fall apart all over again. Both men immediately came under investigators' scrutiny. Jason C. appeared genuinely concerned. He didn't avoid questions or try to hide anything. In fact, as soon as he learned Jolene was missing, he went straight to the sheriff's office and fully cooperated with investigators. He spoke openly about his relationship with Jolene. Yes, they had been through a difficult time. There had been a divorce, a lot of emotions, and plenty of hard conversations. But according to him, no matter what happened between them, his family had always come first. And one thing he made especially clear was that he had always had a great deal of respect for Jolene. There was no anger or bitterness in the way he spoke, just genuine concern and a sincere desire to understand what had happened.
Yeah, that's my kids.
At the same time, he expressed concern about Jason G., describing him as a drug addict and saying he'd heard troubling things about the people he associated with. He gave investigators permission to search everything: his house, his phone, and his car. He said he had nothing to hide. After verifying his alibi and thoroughly searching his home, detectives were satisfied that he had nothing to do with Jolene's disappearance. Tracking down Jason G., however, proved to be much more difficult. One of Jolene's neighbors told investigators that on May 9th, just 3 days before she disappeared, he heard the sound of things being smashed. He also heard Jolene yelling at her children to lock the bedroom door. The situation worried him enough that he called the police. But the moment Jason G. realized officers were on the way, he ran. It was an important lead. Investigators soon learned that he was already wanted for violating the terms of his probation. Eventually, deputies found Jason G. hiding beneath a stack of cardboard boxes inside a house. He was arrested. He admitted that the 2 of them had argued. According to him, he showed up at Jolene's home uninvited and asked if he could stay there. When she refused, he got angry and started smashing things. Investigators noticed scratches and marks on his hands, but he claimed they came from playing with a dog. He told detectives they could search anything they wanted, and even said he was willing to take a polygraph test. But at the same time, he admitted he had lost his phone and couldn't explain where he'd been for the previous few days, meaning he had no alibi. When investigators pointed out how suspicious that looked from their perspective, he said he wanted a lawyer. From that point on, he was officially considered a person of interest in Jolene's disappearance.
Just a couple of hours earlier, deputies arrested Cummings' ex-boyfriend, Jason G., who had a warrant out for a probation violation. But deputies say he is not talking. Investigators say he was found near a wooded area in Hilliard, where deputies were searching Monday night after receiving a tip. They say G and several others are persons of interest in the disappearance.
Unfortunately, there were very few leads, and none of them went anywhere. There were still far too many unanswered questions in this case. But on May 16th, investigators finally got their first major break. They found Jolene's Ford SUV parked in a Home Depot parking lot, about 2 miles from the salon. Surveillance cameras showed the vehicle being parked at around 1:15 in the morning, just a few hours after Jolene was supposed to finish work. Moments later, a figure dressed entirely in black stepped out of the SUV and took off running. Investigators began tracking that person from one surveillance camera to the next, and eventually, they got a clear look. It was a woman, also dressed completely in black. A few minutes later, she walked into a nearby gas station and asked to use the phone to call a taxi. She didn't stay long before quickly leaving. At that point, it was clear she had been the one driving Jolene's vehicle. But that raised an obvious question. If the goal was to steal the SUV, why abandon it and walk away? The gas station employee who spoke with her that night later told detectives, "It was one of the strangest conversations I've ever had." He said she spent a long time talking about how methamphetamine affects the human body, then started sharing stories about spending the night drinking with a group of people. She just kept talking and talking without ever stopping. Then she got into the taxi and disappeared.
Casey, I'm Detective Rose with the Sheriff's Office. Hello. Hello. I needed to speak to you about someone that you had contact with the other night. You're not in trouble for nothing.
Oh, I was like,
okay.
I don't even know.
Can we sit down for a second?
Of course.
Okay. There was a female that came into the store the other night, right here.
Yes.
And y'all sat there and talked for a little bit on video.
Yeah, she had me call her a taxi.
She had you call her a taxi?
Yeah.
Can you tell me what your conversation was with her?
She said something about how she was out with a couple of friends drinking, and one of the friends' ex-boyfriends came around. There had been some kind of problem. She didn't go into detail for it much after that. And to be honest, I don't even know how she got to the store because she had me call her a taxi. And then, 10, 15 minutes later, she was gone. The taxi came and picked her up, took her, she said somewhere to like a Plant Fitness
that
was around us. She went into this really weird conversation about what meth does to your body. Literally, this is what most of our conversation was about.
What meth does to your body? Okay.
Yeah, it was really weird.
While investigators continued reviewing surveillance footage, the forensic examination of the salon uncovered something far more disturbing. Inside, they found large pools of blood. Someone had clearly tried to clean the scene, but luminol revealed the truth that couldn't be hidden. The conclusion was impossible to ignore. This was where Jolene Cummings had been murdered. From that point on, investigators ruled out robbery as a motive, along with several other suspects. The salon manager Jim provided the work schedule, and it showed that the last person to see Jolene alive was stylist Jennifer Seibert. When officers went to speak with her, she spotted the patrol car, suddenly turned around, and drove away. Not long afterward, she claimed she was quitting her job and demanded her final paycheck. Surveillance footage from a nearby gas station quickly confirmed it was her, but the address she had given turned out to be fake, and she had already disappeared. Neighbors and coworkers described her as strange, aggressive, and socially unstable. She was constantly getting into conflicts, behaving erratically, and her personality seemed to shift from one moment to the next. One of her coworkers even admitted she had always felt this woman was capable of something truly horrific. When police finally found her many miles outside the city, she was living out of her car near a gas station and had visible signs of injuries. She was arrested for stealing the vehicle. But it didn't take long for investigators to realize the most shocking part. The woman in custody wasn't Jennifer Seibert. She was Kimberly Kessler, a woman who had herself been listed as missing since 2004.
My name's Wayne, this is Charlie. We want to talk to you for a few minutes. What name do you want me to call you? Because I was talking to the detective that drove you up and he said I might have been calling you by the wrong name.
When you run my fingerprints through, they come up as Kimberly Lee Kessler. I was born in May of 1968, May 9th. I am 50 years old. I've been living under this particular alias since 1999, so not quite 1999. This is 18, about 19 years. So I would prefer to be called Kim.
Okay.
But
She carried herself with confidence, almost too much confidence. There was an unmistakable sense of superiority in the way she spoke, as though she believed she was always one step ahead and completely in control of the situation. She loved talking about herself, and once she started, she rarely stopped. No matter what investigators asked, she always had an answer ready quick, confident, and without the slightest hesitation. At times, it didn't even feel like she was simply responding to their questions. Instead, she seemed determined to steer the conversation in whatever direction benefited her most, carefully choosing what to say while avoiding anything that might put her at a disadvantage.
I just want to make sure that I'm calling you by your right name.
But if you run them through, I mean, the last time I got picked up was back in 1999, and I bonded out, and it took them, I don't remember, it was a couple weeks, I don't know if it was 2.5 weeks or 3.5 weeks before they actually, matched them up.
Matched them up?
Yeah, it didn't but that was 1999, so maybe it was a little bit slower then.
Okay.
But I don't know, there's lots of people on the face of the planet, so maybe it still takes time.
Investigators asked her why she changed her name and ran. Kimberly Kessler said she was trying to hide from her ex. She explained that she chose the name Jennifer after seeing it on a tombstone. It belonged to a young girl who had died in a car accident. But that was only part of the story. Kimberly Kessler had roughly 25 different aliases. She had 5 driver's licenses. She had lived in 33 different cities across 14 states. She used fake social security numbers to stay off the radar. And she was constantly reinventing herself. Changing her appearance, wearing wigs, dyeing her hair, moving from place to place, and starting her life all over again.
Go through when you work with her on that Saturday, so is there anything you can tell me did she ever talk to you about a boyfriend? I know she's got a husband, I know she had a boyfriend. Did she ever talk about anybody she was scared of? Did she ever say anything that she wanted to run away and get away from it all? I mean,
I don't remember hearing anything. She would have different conversations sometimes with different clients. She was saying CPS came to her house. She was telling one client that I caught a little blip of it in between listening to YouTube and the phone ringing. And I remember hearing her say she thought her ex-husband or her husband was doing to get out of paying child support. That's all I heard. And I don't remember ever hearing about a boyfriend ever. But then again, I don't always really pay attention.
Did she tell you who she was hanging around with, or was she into anything that maybe she shouldn't have been?
She would just say to me, the time or two that she'd say, I'm just going home and having a quiet night at home, or I don't have the kids tonight, or, whatever, I'm just going to enjoy it.
She insisted she had no idea where Jolene could be. She said it with confidence and without any hesitation, as if the answer was obvious. And even when investigators showed her surveillance footage clearly capturing her getting into Jolene's car, she still didn't admit to it. She kept denying everything calmly, almost indifferently, like it had nothing to do with her at all. Then, without warning, the entire direction of the conversation changed. At one point, she suddenly turned the accusation back onto Jolene, claiming that Jolene was allegedly using methamphetamine. It came out sharp, and it felt strange, because everyone who knew Jolene immediately dismissed it. To them, it didn't make any sense at all, something that simply didn't align with the person they knew her to be.
I did find a bag that I believe had crystal meth in it, just a little bit in the bottom, a tiny baggie back by the back door.
Did you guys ever hang out after work? Did you ever go anywhere
together?
There's video of you dropping her car off at the Home Depot parking lot there in Yulee and walking across and going into the gate station and getting a taxi cab back down to, they had it listed as Dick Sweeney's, but it was back down there to where Tangles is, okay? And that's why you're charged with a grand theft auto. And I'm not trying to trick you. I'm not trying to fool you. You're opening up to me, and I'm opening up to you. Okay, that's the reason you're charged with that. You're not charged with anything else. Okay, but something happened to Jolene.
And just when it seemed like investigators were finally making real progress, when it felt like the conversation was about to reveal the answers they had been searching for, the moment the pressure increased, everything suddenly came to a halt. Kimberly's tone changed. She became noticeably more reserved, no longer willing to answer the detective's questions. And without offering any explanation, she simply said she wanted a lawyer. Just like that, the interview was over. Whatever answers investigators had hoped to get from her would have to wait.
Something that you didn't plan happened, but let me tell you what we did, okay? Because I just want to be honest with you, because I think something bad happened that you didn't intend to happen, but I don't think you're an evil person. I don't think you're a mean person. I think you have done one hell of a job getting through the last 25 years.
So let me reply this way, and you may not like the answer. I would like legal counsel.
For police, that didn't become a dead end. Not even close. New surveillance footage began filling in the missing pieces. Near the dumpsters behind the salon, investigators spotted Kimberly on the same day Jolene disappeared, seen disposing of multiple bags. That raised an immediate question for detectives. Where did the trash go after the containers were emptied? The answer led them to a massive landfill, holding nearly 4 million pounds of waste. At that point, it was clear that recovering anything from there would be close to impossible. But nearby, hidden in the trees, close to the dumpsters, they made another discovery, a lid from a large plastic container. Once investigators confirmed Kimberly's real address and located a storage unit she had recently rented, what they found inside was deeply disturbing. Multiple items were covered in blood. A rapid DNA analysis confirmed it matched Jolene. Inside one of the containers, they also recovered a fingernail belonging to her. There was also a bag containing scissors, and those too were stained with blood. Forensic testing later confirmed that the blood found in the salon didn't belong only to Jolene, it also matched Kimberly. Investigators believe those scissors could have been the weapon used in the attack. Further analysis of Kimberly's iPhone revealed photos of a notebook filled with page after page of names. Among them was even the name of an ex-boyfriend from her school years. Next to several of the names were words like Satan, witch, and evil. Kimberly also kept detailed notes about her dreams and frequently talked about demons, Jesus, and people she believed were following her. Her search history included queries like how to commit a crime and female serial killers, along with multiple searches for the name Jolene. At her residence, investigators found 6 different wigs and several cell phones. Statements from people who knew her under different identities began to form a disturbing pattern. One former boyfriend recalled her calmly telling him that she had shot her own cat with a shotgun. He also claimed that as a child, she once threatened to kill a friend's brother with a baseball bat while he slept. Despite the mounting evidence against Kimberly, investigators still had one major problem. The body of Jolene had not been found. Then, surveillance footage from Walmart provided a crucial new lead. The video shows Kimberly purchasing about $30 worth of items: ammonia, plastic ties, and an electric knife. This happened around 9 in the evening, roughly 4 hours after Jolene finished work, and after, according to investigators, she had already been killed. After that, Kimberly returned to the salon. Around 11 at night, she was captured on camera disposing of very heavy bags into the dumpsters. Police stated that, given the amount of blood found in the salon and the presence of an electric knife, there was only one reasonable conclusion: they believed Kimberly dismembered Jolene's body and placed the remains into bags. On May 22nd, a press conference was held where police confirmed that although the search for Jolene would continue, they no longer believed she would be found alive.
In addition to following up on all leads and evidence we were receiving, this individual was known as Jennifer Seibert. We have subsequently found out that Seibert's real name is Kimberly Kessler. Through our investigation, we have obtained evidence, which we are not releasing at this time, which leads us to believe Jolene is not alive. Kessler is a suspect in the disappearance of Jolene Cummings.
Sunday was a special day, not only for Mother's Day, but it was her birthday. She was born on Mother's Day. God gave me this special blessing after my firstborn infant son, Richard, was buried. I beg you as a mother to please keep coming forward, no matter how small. My 3 grandchildren who miss her so much, we want closure.
Gradually, a clearer picture began to form for investigators. They started to believe that Kimberly likely didn't act on impulse. Instead, it looked like something carefully planned in advance. That conclusion was supported by her search history queries that didn't seem random at all. And then there was another key detail. The day Jolene disappeared perfectly aligned with a window of opportunity, a time when the salon was scheduled to be closed for 2 days. For investigators, that wasn't just a coincidence. It looked like access, a chance to carry everything out without interruption, and enough time afterward to potentially cover it up. And they became convinced that this timing wasn't accidental. It was chosen. After gathering enough evidence, police charged Kimberly with first-degree murder. But even after that, her behavior didn't change. Sitting in handcuffs, she remained calm, almost unnervingly calm. She made jokes, spoke casually, as if none of this carried any real weight at all. No fear, no panic, nothing. As if nothing had even happened.
No, they feel great. You can put them on tighter if you want. Whatever you want to do. I'm at your mercy, so have as much fun as you'd like.
In jail, she didn't withdraw into herself. If anything, she became unusually open and willing to engage. Kimberly often spoke with journalists and regularly called her mother, and every single time, she said the same thing. She denied everything, calmly, consistently, without emotion or hesitation, almost like she was repeating a version of events she had memorized long ago. But what stood out even more wasn't just what she said, it was how she carried herself. It almost seemed like the reality of being in custody wasn't really affecting her at all. No visible fear, no anxiety, nothing that would normally come with a situation like this. It was as if, for her, this was just another stage she was moving through.
This is a prepaid call from
Kim Kessler,
an inmate at the Nassau County Jail.
he told me that he thought you were involved. They think you're involved in a missing person there. So, if you can or if you want to, please, bail me out, and I can.
I will. I'm just wondering.
That's my ability. I'll answer. I just got interrupted on the phone with a little message that they're going to disconnect the call again. It's kind of funny. They keep me in solitary confinement like it's a bad thing. It's heaven, girl. I love it. Tom Thompson told me today that, I was the front page of the newspaper. I'm all over the news. I guess I'm still, the talk of the town or something.
Why would that be starting up again? There's absolutely nothing going on in the world?
I say it's because it's the Illuminati. I think that her people definitely are fucking seriously involved in it, so that's just what is happening. So I got the Illuminati on my ass. Again, I can't prove it. It's just my opinion and what little bit I've seen on YouTube about some of the research I was doing on these secret societies is, nobody gets even 5 minutes worth or 5 seconds worth of airtime unless they have some sort of connection. So, her stepdad, I don't know what's going on with him, if he's still in the hospital or what's up, but normally to attain a position like he was running the jail, you gotta be usually a Mason or whatever. You gotta be in a secret society to hold
I'm sure he is. If he's running a jail, I'm sure he is.
They don't have anything on me because it's all bullshit. Somebody's just trying to
that's what
collect.
I'm thinking.
They're trying to collect on an insurance policy is what they're trying to do, and they have to have the insurance company's not going to fucking just pay them. They tried to set me up, but they didn't set me up that good, obviously, because the insurance company, they have to go to all this trouble to try to make me look bad. But I don't know what happened. All I know is that I didn't do anything. I had nothing to do with it. I have no idea, what they're doing. I think they just look for excuses, too, to rob and steal because they just do all kinds of shit. They took the clothes I was wearing off my back and my shoes and stole them. My rings and my jewelry. I only had 2 rings and 1 bracelet. Gone. Fucking gone. It was in my bag that they say they confiscated as evidence, but they didn't list it. And so someone pocketed that. They just use excuses to steal. I don't even know if my motorcycle's even in my storage unit. I don't know if any of my shit that's worth any value is in there. I have no idea because they're thieves.
She insisted she was innocent, but as the weeks went on and the prosecution began building its case, Kimberly's behavior became increasingly unstable, irrational, and unpredictable.
It's fine.
Let's just put me back on myself.
Ma'am, come back.
I want to get rid of the public defender's office. Yeah, exactly. Jordan Beard is Johnson's nephew. Jordan Beard is Jolia's cousin.
Prison staff later reported that she would frequently strip herself naked, smear feces across the cell window, and at one point had to be restrained with pepper spray after declaring a hunger strike because she believed she was being poisoned. Her weight dropped from 96 pounds to 74 pounds. At first, she was ruled mentally unfit to stand trial, but later, a judge determined that she was capable of understanding the charges against her. A psychiatric nurse who observed her closely noted something important. Her behavior did not appear chaotic or completely out of control. Instead, it seemed calculated, deliberate. In a way, even manipulative, but at the same time, it still wasn't convincing enough for those who actually recognize what a severe mental disorder looks like in practice. Before long, the case made its way into the news. Reports stated that the suspect in the high-profile murder case had been found competent to stand trial, a decision that came as a relief to those who knew Jolene. It meant only one thing: the case was moving forward. 3 months later, the ruling became final. She would stand trial. But even then, it was clear this would not be a straightforward process. 53-year-old Kimberly refused to participate in court hearings. She interrupted proceedings, argued constantly, and triggered conflicts right there in the courtroom. Over time, the situation only worsened. She stopped cooperating even with her own attorneys.
Public defender's office. I refuse it. I have refused it. I refuse the public defender's office. They appointed Jordan Beard, Jolene Fleming's cousin, as my public defender. They appointed Jolene Fleming's cousin as my public defender. What? You don't want the public to know that? You don't want them to know?
After she has been removed from the courtroom, she'll be downstairs as she's been through the proceedings thus far.
The trial continued, but for most of it, Kimberly remained in a separate room watching the proceedings through video feed. The prosecution presented several theories about motive. One of them was that Jolene Cummings had started to suspect that Jennifer was not who she claimed to be. She had already called her fake and may have been close to uncovering the truth. And Kimberly, according to prosecutors, could not allow that to happen. Another theory was jealousy. Kimberly may have envied Jolene's life, her success with clients, and simply wanted her gone. The defense admitted there had been an altercation between them, but they argued that a first-degree murder conviction requires proof of intent, and in their view, that evidence was missing. They also pointed out that neither the exact time nor the cause of death had been definitively established. But the jury came to a different conclusion. Kimberly Kessler was found guilty of first-degree murder and grand theft of a motor vehicle. She was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She was later transferred to another facility, to the relief of those who had to deal with her.
She's evil. She's evil in the flesh. I want her behind out of our jail because we are fed up with her crap. It's the state's problem from now on. I don't for 1 second believe that Kimberly Kessler, or whatever name she's going by today, I don't believe this is her first murder. We're going to celebrate. We're going to celebrate her homegoing, because her new home for the rest of her life and until she takes her last breath. So I've been assured she'll be on the first bus tomorrow out of town. And when she leaves, we're going to have cake and ice cream.
If you could find it within your heart to tell us where the remains of my daughter, where are the remains of my daughter? Give us some closure. I'm asking you from one mother to another.
Tonight marks 411 days since Jolene Cummings was last seen in Nassau County. And while
her body was never found, and unfortunately, it seems it may never be recovered. For Jolene's family, that has become one of the hardest parts of this tragedy. Without answers, without a place to visit, and without the chance to properly say goodbye, the pain has never truly come to an end. The Tangle Hair Salon, which had been operating for more than 10 years, closed its doors for good. The property owner decided not to continue the lease, although according to former co-workers, the decision went far beyond business. The salon had become a painful reminder of everything that had happened there. After everything that happened, it's just impossible to work without Jolene. It will never feel the same again. It's too painful, they wrote on Facebook. Jolene Cummings' daughter now lives with her grandmother, Ann. Her sons are living with their father, Jason. In an interview, Jason said he fell in love with Jolene because she was an incredible mother. She always put her children first, and through her kindness and devotion, she taught him how to become a better father himself. Now, he says his biggest responsibility is making sure their sons grow up knowing exactly who their mother was and never allowing her memory to fade. When he was asked, if you could say one more thing to Jolene, what would it be? Jason paused for a moment, smiled, and quietly replied, I don't think you have enough tape for that. It was a simple answer, but it said everything about how deeply he still misses her. Anne said the world no longer feels as safe as it once did. When your child is murdered, grief is only the beginning. She explained that losing Jolene changed every part of her life, leaving behind a pain that never completely disappears. But despite everything, Anne says she still feels her daughter's presence with her. I know her soul is in heaven, but her spirit is still here with her children. Sometimes I feel like I hear her saying, Mom, do this, do that, kiss and hug the kids for me, and it makes me smile and cry at the same time. Even years later, Jolene's absence continues to be felt by everyone who loved her. While justice was served in court, the loss her family carries is something no verdict could ever erase.